The first 30 kilometers with this shoe, we weren't getting along at all. It felt like a couple who just had a big fight, but still had to sleep in the same bed. After 30 kilometers of bringing it in, I finally feel the review can begin. So how is it similar to the 160X7 Pro? And what's improved compared to the last year's 6 non-Pro? Today, let's talk about the XTEP 160X7.你们好，我是辉。I started this channel to review Chinese running products. More importantly, it's my way of forcing myself to practice spoken English. I'm self-sponsored and money doesn't grow on trees. Whether good or bad, I'm going to give you my honest reviews without filtering. Let's dive in from the specs. Since the brand didn't provide any numbers, I'll just compare it to the last gen as I go. On foot, you can feel the forefoot foam is fuller than the previous version. The drop feels the same to me, around 6 mm. The midsole uses the same XTEP Ace Plus tech labeled on the 7.0 Pro. In my 7.0 Pro video, I shared my thoughts on this Plus. On the 7.0 Pro, the top and bottom layers have different densities. I assumed that Plus meant a dual density setup. But now, the non-Pro 7.0 also carries the Plus label, which really confuses me, because both foam layers here are the same densities. At this point, I have no idea what the Plus actually means. I think a brand should explain what's being upgraded on their product page. Otherwise, it just comes off as marketing fluff. My size 45 weighs 235 grams. Yes, the 7.0 is actually lighter than the race day 7.0 Pro. That's good news for audience considering the non-Pro version. And again, shows that the 7.0 Pro's weight isn't very competitive in today's race day shoe market. Like other Chinese brand shoes I own, it fits true to size. For reference, I usually wear 45 in Chinese brands and 46 in Hoka and New Balance. The air is full of barbecue smell. I just can't focus with that. After the basics, let's take a look at the details. The upper material is the same as the 7.0 Pro, just woven a bit tighter, which improves durability but reduces breathability. There's a padding in the middle of the tongue, which relieves pressure when you tighten the laces. The heel padding amount is the same as the 7.0 Pro, way more than what you would typically find on speed trainers. Overall, this year's 7.0 series seems prioritize comfort over lightweight. Last year's 6.0 series removed the heel padding, an aggressive move that probably brought XTEP a lot of negative feedback. Issues like heel lifting and ankle irritation were common complaints. Sharp-eyed audience might notice the two different laces on each shoe, one freely laced, one regular. That's because the box includes an extra pair of regular laces. I just swap it for my personal color preference. Moving to the outsole, the cutout area is pretty large, designed to save some weight, and extends into the heel. I wouldn't recommend this type of shoe to underpronators. This kind of design usually makes landing more to inward rolling. But since underpronators are a small group, most brands choose to cut out the lateral side to shed some weight. The outsole is still XTEP's CPU rubber. This is what it looks like after 60 kilometers. The heel area is more worn down than what I usually see, which has to do with how I land in these shoes. I will get into that in the next chapter. With that out of the way, let's talk about the pros and cons of actually running in it. The first 30 kilometers in this shoe were a struggle for me. The forefoot foam is really firm. And with my running mechanics, the lack of cushioning made my forefoot go numb after about 8 kilometers. I didn't bring camera those nights. I just wanted to put more miles in, hoping they would break in. After 30 kilometers, the forefoot finally softened up a bit and started absorbing ground impact properly. I'm glad I didn't waste my time. Even so, these are still on the firm side. If you like a lot of squish type of foam, you probably won't fall in love with this. I think the best way to describe it is, it's kind of a weird and confusing foam. It does offer some cushioning after breaking, but I don't get the rebound I would expect from such a stack, or from a full P-based midsole. But when I switch to heel strike, shortening my stride a bit and landing on my heel, the cushioning and the rebound suddenly feel excellent. Even after trying lots of shoes, it's rare for me to come across a midsole that unpredictably between forefoot and heel striking. It's almost like the forefoot is one shoe and heel is another. It looks like I'm really compressing the heel foam to doing a lot of squishing, but it doesn't feel like a squish shoe. Instead, it feels like every time I hit the ground, I'm bouncing right off. So it definitely feels like a very fast shoe when heel striking. In the last 2 rounds, I did some easy paces and stretch hold repeats. No matter the pace, heel striking performed way better than midfoot and forefoot landing. Since I'm not good at high cadence heel striking, for me, it's almost like hitting the brick. All my body weight and forces go through that heel area. As a result, the also wear is much worse than on my other shoes, even compared to the same also compound on the 7.0 Pro heel area. Before wrapping up this video, I want to talk about how it differs from the 7.0 Pro. In terms of cushioning, with my weight and my running mechanics, the 7.0 Pro's forefoot foam only starts absorbing impact when I hit 330 per kilometer pace. This shoe begins working around 410 per kilometer pace. From that angle, it's easier to live with compared to the 7.0 Pro. But I think the bar is still pretty high. As for proportion, I feel like the plate and the midsole foam don't really need each other. During 400-meter intervals, that explosive sensation I get on the 7.0 Pro is barely noticeable here. It feels nimble underfoot, but that extra proportion is much less. Okay, now let's talk about the improvements over last gen non-Pro series. The conclusion is that the improvement isn't huge. Thanks to the increased stack height, heel striking in the 7.0 gives a bit faster, stronger rebound. But with midfoot or forefoot strikes, the extra stack doesn't make a significant difference in rebound and actually feels slightly less cushioned than the 6.0 series. Considering the 35% price difference, I think the 6 series seems more worth buying to me. If you are not sensitive to the price and want a more comfortable upper and fit, then the 6.0 is definitely better. If we look beyond XTEP, and you are someone who loves the Li-Ning Feidian 5 Elite, this could be a solid training companion. If you like the Anta C2026 361 degrees Flame 4 mix, if you enjoy that snappy heel striking feel and want something that fires you much quicker, then the 167.0 is definitely worth considering. Lastly, I want to use this shoe, a full P-based midsole foam that doesn't feel very P-like, especially in the forefoot, to talk once again about the midsole technology. Sure, I often mention in videos whether a shoe's midsole is P-based or TPU-based and so on. But I really hope my audience understand that the raw material is just one piece of the puzzle. You can make P-bar airy, squishy, mushy, or you can make it slightly denser for a responsive ride. What creates these different feels comes mostly from the foaming process. That's why I always follow up based with things like TPU-based beaded foaming, PIBA-based embryo foaming, or TPEE-based sheeting foaming. And the whole midsole design plays a big role too. For marketing and general understanding, yeah, it's easier to just talk about materials like PIBA because it sticks in people's minds. But you don't know if that PIBA blended with EVA or TPU. You don't know which brand it is and what grade. And you definitely don't know if it's made from new or recycled materials. Please forgive me as someone working in private equity. I can't dive too deep into material science here. But there is a saying, the seller is always sharper than the buyer. It highlights a fundamental economic concept known as information asymmetry. The seller usually has more complete and accurate info about the product's quality and value than the buyer. I think putting it that way makes sense, and you will probably resonate. If a certain material always means a certain feel, there will be no need for running shoe reviewers at all. Okay, that's all I wanted to share with you today. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this shoe or tips for improving English speaking. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I'll bring you more on Chinese running products. Follow if you're interested, and hope you have a good one.